Thank you very much for coming back from the commercial break.
Stand up for something. Your voice matters in the circles you influence. Award-winning author Stacy Hawkins Adams is here as we continue our Motivational Monday series. Hi, Stacy.
Good morning.
All right, so we're sitting, but we're going to stand up. So what are you talking about here with stand up for whatever?
What I'm talking about is we live in a world that often tells us who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to move through the world, what matters most, what doesn't matter most. But each of us, every day in our lives, we're touching other people. So your circle of influence could be your family, it could be your coworkers, it could be the people you encounter in your neighborhood or in the grocery store. All of us have an opportunity to make an impact. And so who do we want to be in those circles or in those moments of influence? How do you want to show up in the world? So how do you stand up for the person you want to be versus the world telling us who we should be?
And this is an interesting time for this.
Yeah.
You know, with everything that's going on in the world, so many different opinions, so many stances on things.
Yes.
And so in a world where we need folks to stand up for things like kindness and honesty, this is really important. How do you begin that? And if you're in a room where people are disagreeing and you want to stand up, how do you do that?
The first thing I think you should ask yourself is, how do you want people to think, feel, or what do you want them to know or do as a result of being in your presence? So how do you want to leave people better than you find them? That's sort of my personal motto, how I want to walk through the world. Even if I'm having a difficult conversation, maybe it's someone I disagree with, maybe it's someone that we just butt heads, but I still want to leave them better than I found them in some way with how I either approached the situation, how I treated them with respect, or as you said, kindness, or even operating in a spirit of love. Even if we don't think the same, we're all human. There's a humanity that we need to respect in each other. And sometimes when you meet people with kindness, even if they're not giving it back to you, you break down those walls, or you lessen that protective barrier they may have around themselves, so they can then see you more fully.
Like a lot of people, my dad and I had very different opinions about things, and he used to say, you gotta learn to disagree without being disagreeable.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of where you're heading here. You do have to stand up for yourself, and this past weekend we saw people all over the country doing something that they felt was important to them.
Right.
You were talking about in a room where you butt heads. It's hard sometimes when people are so polarized to actually stand up and say, well, okay, I feel this way.
Right, and the stand-up that I'm talking about is not even necessarily vocalizing it. It's standing up for yourself with yourself. You're deciding who you want to be, if you never open your mouth, if you never raise your voice, your presence presents love, it presents kindness, it presents self-respect. And at the end of the day, when you lay your head on that pillow, you want to have either made some choices or stood back in a way where you can go to sleep with peace. So it's really saying, I'm standing up for how I want the legacy that I eventually want to leave for myself. However everybody else is moving through this world, have I made the courageous decisions when others have stood back? Have I stood back when others have moved forward and it didn't feel right to me? So who do I want to be in this world? And that's what you're standing up for, that person, that character you want to have.
So in a lot of ways, the way in which you go about it.
Yes.
And being able to do that without always vocalizing something is so important in a world where everyone feels like they need to vocalize everything.
Yes.
Sometimes it's about just being there, being steady in the moment.
Right, being present, having that quiet strength when you need it, and speaking up when you need to. You know, we always know that quote about when E.F. Hutton speaks, you know, everyone listens, or when a certain person speaks, because they don't speak all the time. That's a way of using your voice with power. You use your words when they mean something, when it really, really matters to you. We talked about the folks this weekend that felt that they needed to do that in that moment. And yet there's some people who maybe they were out of town, or maybe for health reasons they couldn't do that. How in your circle of influence can you still make a difference? Still, maybe it's casting your vote, maybe it's sending an email, maybe it's having a conversation with a child you're raising so they understand your values and beliefs. So it's realizing that we don't have to all do things the same way, but we need to move in the way that we know, like as I said, we're honoring who we are meant to be, and we're operating in a spirit of love, peace, and respect for others.
So that's good advice now, because so many people are looking around and seeing things that they agree and or disagree with and say, what can I do as an individual? Well, your advice is be an individual, know what you stand for, And when it's time, when the moment's right, you will be able to. I had somebody mention to me over the weekend that they really wanted to go back to the days when I didn't know what my co-workers' politics were. I loved them, I respect them, I worked with them, but had no idea. And I'm like, well, that would be nice.
Right. Because we live
to get back to that.
Yes, because we need to know so much about everything. Everybody is, just, I call it being the social media highlight reel. We think that that is just everyone's world. That's just really a slice of everyone's world. And we'll look at that and we'll say, oh gosh, I'm not doing that, or I can't achieve that. Or even just being that singular person with a voice, we feel like my voice doesn't matter. I'm not on the TV stage. I don't have a large platform. If you have a conversation with your neighbor, the person at the grocery store, I just took a trip recently and got back, and I tell you, the people that I encountered in the airport had such meaningful conversations, just life-changing conversations with 2 or 3 women along the way that I may never cross paths with again, but we shared words with each other that I know will linger. And if you think about being that one person, you think of yourself as that pebble being thrown into the pond or into the ocean. Those ripple effects go on and on. And so we do need to understand that our voice matters, our stance matters. The choices we make should not just be selfish choices. Are we making choices that are good for us but also impact the world in a positive way?
Always learn so much when she's here.
Yeah,
she's so good. Thank you.
She's leaving us better than she found us.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in again this week, and we always look forward to the next time.
That's right. In the meantime, Stacy offers a weekly Motivational Monday newsletter by email. If you're interested in subscribing, you can visit stacyhawkinsadams.com.